professional as always. You can't. It's hard to talk with Zin in your mouth. Wanted to get my last shot of nicotine in before I got on the mic. So I've been using a lot of CBD, Blue Key, 3,000 milligram CBD for health reasons. It just wipes you. It doesn't wipe you out, but it puts you in a different place. So I need the nicotine to pick me back up. How is everybody? I hope everybody's doing great. I hope you guys are having a great 2025. We are, 3 weeks in? 3 weeks into 2025? Almost 4 weeks in. And everything's been doing great. Trump killing it, doing exactly what he's supposed to do. But I wanted to talk, there's two things I want to talk about. There's be a lot of things I talk about. But the title of the show is The Exorcism of Kennedy Guilt. Getting the guilt of the JFK assassination, getting that monkey off our back. Because that monkey has drove us to the brink. That monkey, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, ushered in hell. And Donald Trump is now, and the American people are now exercising, are getting that hell out of our system. And when history is a crazy, crazy thing. It's the ripple effect. The ripple effect of things last a couple generations. It is appropriate that Donald J. Trump is exercising the ripple effect of the JFK assassination out of our system. It is appropriate the man that survived an assassination attempt, and don't think for a second that it wasn't the government that tried to put that bullet in Donald J. Trump's head. Don't think for a second it wasn't the government that put the bullet in JFK's head. The government tried to avoid its exorcism by Donald J. Trump by putting a bullet in his head the same way they started it by putting a bullet in JFK's head. I heard a recording. One of Lyndon Baines Johnson's close assistants talking about LBJ ordering the assassination of JFK. I always felt LBJ was responsible for JFK's death, and listening to that recording, you never know what to believe anymore, what to trust. Sources are so hard, but it found fertile ground. That recording of LBJ, of a close associate saying LBJ ordered the assassination of Kennedy, found fertile ground in this young man's head, because he had everything to gain. He hated JFK. And he would become president, which he did. So what happened after John F. Kennedy was assassinated in the sadness? What happened? Well, the Great Society happened. And when I say ripple effect, I just want to start some of the ripple effects of what happened after JFK is assassinated. So we're about to enter pretty much, I think, possibly the golden age of America with JFK. Maybe the government's going to grow a lot, but in the same respect, when the government grows, he's also attacking the defense industry. He's dangling in Vietnam, but we're not fully involved in Vietnam yet, right? So we're still fighting communism, but we're not. But we're the domino effect is, not to give a history lesson, but this is what, as I was going through school and learning, this is kind of, the Vietnam War was kind of a key. I was born in 1961, so when I was a young man, Vietnam was in full progress. When I was a young child, Vietnam was in full progress till 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. Not quite the age of reason, but getting there. It was all around me in different ways. Specifically, one of the things that I remember most was the Labor Day parade that went down Little Boulevard. And one year I was old enough to remember it. There was the Labor Day, the hard hats were marching down Lindell Boulevard, right in front of Lake Avenue, right through the Central West End, and there were people that had a house on Lindell Boulevard that had a hose and were spraying them with water, and they got the shit beat out of them because the hard hats just beat the shit out of them for spraying them with the hose. They didn't spray them with the hose anymore. But that's just that memory. I just remember that because I was probably 10 or 11 years old when that happened, and it made the news. The flower child, the peace child, and then the hard hats just beating the crap out of them on the Labor Day parade. And the crazy thing is, that was when everybody went to war. We still had a draft. Most young people don't even understand what a draft is. We've had a generation of volunteers in the Army. That was about to change if Kamala Harris got reelected. The volunteer was about to dry up to a drip because there aren't many communists that want to die for communism in America, and so they would have reinstituted the draft. So that's one thing that would have absolutely happened under Kamala, whatever you want to call her, regime, is they would have absolutely reinstituted the draft. Absolutely, they would have had to. They wouldn't have had any choice. And you already see where Ukraine is asking for U.S. soldiers. That's funny. That's funny now, Zelensky. You think Donald Trump? You think Donald Trump is going to send U.S. troops to Ukraine? Are you a freaking idiot? He's not going to waste U.S. blood, precious U.S. diamonds, precious U.S. blood on Ukrainian soil. For what? For what? For Fauci's biolabs? Zelensky's better. I hope Zelensky reads the room better than that, because if he can't read the room better than that, he's a complete moron. Like somebody said, Zelensky should just take his billions and go set up in a country that won't extradite him to Russia for crimes against humanity, or extradite him to the U.S. for crimes against humanity. I would love to find out. Wouldn't it be fun to know? If I were Trump, I'd give Zelensky a full pardon. Let him come to the U.S. on one condition. He testifies on every U.S. politician, on every U.S. government agent, on every American person that benefited, that the Ukrainian government gave money to foment war. And just give Zelensky a pass. Let him be a rich man. Let him have a yacht. I don't give a shit. Just tell me all the Americans that got payback for the Ukrainian war from us sending all these billions of dollars. I want to know where the tens of millions and the millions and the hundreds of millions. I want to know the politicians that got those Bitcoin transfers into their wallets. I want to know their names. I want to know their wallets. I want them all turned in as traitors. Traitors to you, traitors to your country. This is going to be a big ADD, because it was going to be a big ADD show, and I'll tell you why. Because we're covering 60 years. So it's going to be, I'm going to wander, guys. So stay with me. All right. So the last thing I remember was the fights, the hard hats, and the hippies. The hippies started it. I promise you, the hippies started spraying them with water, and then the hard hats ended it by the beatdown. So it was a melee. I mean, it was bad. And so okay. So let's go on to the exorcism of Kennedy. So after Kennedy gets assassinated, it is 64. So, or whenever he got assassinated. I mean, I don't even remember him getting assassinated. Okay, I remember my parents being upset, but my parents didn't vote for Kennedy. They didn't support Kennedy. He was a Democrat, and he was a liberal, and he was going to grow government and government programs. But I don't think my parents hated Kennedy. They didn't hate him. They didn't think it was the end of the universe as we know it when Kennedy got elected. They survived their liberal friends with it. But after Kennedy got assassinated and they put LBJ in, the whole world changed. The whole world changed. It just became less good. Not because Kennedy was good per se, but because evil won. It did. Evil won. By the assassination of Kennedy, evil won. God did not save Kennedy. Well, God didn't make the same mistake twice. Because God saved Trump. I guess 60 years of evil winning the day in America. There was enough prayer going on for Trump, enough love going out for Trump, that that God foresaw to intervene, because that was definitely a godly effort to save Trump. So here we are, and the ripple effect of the Kennedy assassination was LBJ, the Great Society. Well, what did the Great Society do? Well, the Great Society took a lot of dads out of a lot of homes and made a lot of single-family homes out of moms, out of parents. It extolled the virtue of being a single mom, because single moms in the government program, you had to be a single mom in order to get government assistance for your child. So if you're a single mom and you see that you can get money for having a baby and you don't have to work, and it's enough money for the baby to support both of you, and you get to have both, the only thing you can't have is a father. You can't have a dad around. Because if there's a dad around, you don't get the money. So guess what happens? A lot of single moms. White, black. What happens in single-family homes? Well, if you were to go to a lot of the prisons in the USA, you would find that a lot of the prisoners in our prisons today are, guess what? Men from fatherless homes. It's just stats. It's just stats. It is what it is. So that started the Great Society. That started. It was the Civil Rights Act got passed. So Civil Rights Act, in and of itself, not evil. In and of itself, not evil. But the ending of it brought us to DEI, right? So a natural extension of the Civil Rights Act was DEI, a bridge too far, right? Bridge too far. And so one of the ways we are exercising the right is we're not reversing the Civil Rights Act, but we are ending DEI. Yeah, it just makes sense. And so the Civil Rights Act should have been where it ended, as far as everybody being treated equal. But of course, for evil, it's never enough. Never enough. The government can never get too large. Government can never get too intrusive. Government can never have enough. You know, and that's basically, this all began with Kennedy's assassination. The other thing with Kennedy's assassination was the growth of the military-industrial complex, that which President Eisenhower warned us against as he left office. He's like, these guys are getting a lot of power, and it's not necessarily in the best interest of our country for the military, the people that build weapons of destruction, of murder and death, for them to be making our policy decisions, because they're in the business of death, right? So if you're not shooting torpedoes and bombs at anybody, how much money are they making? Because defense spending is just like the absolute worst way you can spend money. You make a bomb, what does it do? It just sits there. It doesn't make anybody's life better. It doesn't do anything for anybody, but you just spend $1 million on a bomb, and it's just sitting there. So to the defense contractor, what do you want? You want war. You want death. You want to make those bombs. Making bombs is good. War is good. So after LBJ had Kennedy assassinated, which I believe, guess who he turned to for support? The warmongers. And guess what got us deeper and deeper into Vietnam? LBJ. LBJ, who couldn't find a way out of Vietnam. Couldn't find a way out, but he sure found a way in, didn't he? Sure found a way in. Sure found a way into an endless war with Henry Kissinger. Couldn't win the war against Vietnam, right? Couldn't win a war against Vietnam. We can defeat Germany, but we can't. We can defeat China and Korea, China and Russia and Korea, or China and Korea, but we can't beat Vietnam. That's crazy, isn't it? The endless war, the war we refuse to win. How many millions in Vietnam will now feel exercised? I hope Vietnam, I hope Vietnam enjoys what Malay is doing in Argentina, what Trump is doing in America, and maybe in Vietnam, even in Vietnam, they'll come to the conclusion that in order for their people to prosper, for Vietnam to prosper, they need to follow the same path. So here we go. Whether we should have or should not have been in Vietnam isn't the point. The point is LBJ made sure that the defense contractors made a lot of money with us being in Vietnam. Vietnam was a draft. So that meant the rich and the poor served in Vietnam, which meant as a society, that ripple effect went much larger than just one segment of society. Everybody was paying a price for Vietnam. There were some uber rich that got deferments, that served in other places, that didn't have to go fight in the jungles of Vietnam. And just a reminder that when we grew up, we were not, the people in America growing up in the 60s, it was after we'd won the World War, the Korean War was over, so very few people, very few families were raising their children to be warriors. Okay, they weren't raising their children on how to shoot a gun. They weren't raising their children that killing is okay if it's against the bad guys. It wasn't. We weren't raising that generation. The baby boom generation wasn't raising a generation of killers. It just wasn't. And so when Vietnam happened, and all these people started getting drafted, that really were not prepared for the mentality of killing other human beings. And they'd get drafted and they'd be like, wait a minute. It's just like, I was just studying Plato. Like, what are you talking about? I got to go kill somebody in a jungle in Vietnam. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And so that was, and then that ripple effect of that counter to that push to go kill people in Vietnam, it affected everything. It affected entire generations. It affected colleges. It affected universities. It affected that impact. And so that whole generation went to government is bad, the government bad, to destroying government. And what they didn't realize is that in their destroying government, the coward they used to teach us, they still teach this crap in the big schools, is that you destroy the government by making it bigger. It's like coward Pliven, or making all these laws or whatever. You destroy the country. So they weren't just about destroying the government. They were about destroying the country. And that's what Ploward Criven or whatever, they taught us in schools on how to overwhelm the system. There's this sick human being named Saul Alinsky who got taught in all the colleges. And Saul Alinsky was an evil son of a bitch. He was evil, just out and out evil about how the ends justify the means. And that, my friends, is the definition of evil. That your ends can justify any means. That is evil. Because they can't. You can't justify your goal by doing something evil. If the act is evil, then your goal is not going to be good. So we've taken all this 60 years, guys. 60 years. That's 2 generations, but 2 generations of this ripple effect of the Kennedy assassination. And going to the other thing that happened was OPEC. So after Kennedy gets assassinated, you have OPEC. Well, most younger people don't even know what the hell OPEC is because they don't understand what happened. Well, here's what happened with OPEC. Let me tell you what happened with OPEC. So America was getting a lot of its oil from the Middle East. So we had oil in Texas. We had some oil in Texas, and we were doing pretty good with oil. But America was booming, man. America was growing hand over fist. And so we were importing a lot of our oil because it was a lot cheaper to get the oil out of the ground in Saudi Arabia because it's like you get out a shovel and you find oil because it's shallow. So we were importing a lot of our oil from Saudi Arabia, which it was cheaper to drill through 3 feet of sand, get oil, ship it over here, and put it in our cars than to drill through 10,000 feet of solid rock to get it in the USA. So we were getting a lot of our oil from Saudi Arabia, and a lot of these countries were in the 70s weren't they were Muslim, but they weren't powerful, they weren't rich countries. Okay, so we were getting oil from them, paying for the oil, and our companies drilled it, our companies took it out, we were using it, and we were paying them. Not a lot. I mean, we were paying them maybe, I don't even know what the price of, hey, Justin, look up what the price of a barrel of oil was in 1971. Wait, when was OPEC? I think it was OPEC. Yeah, look up, hey, Justin, can you look up when OPEC was formed and what the price of a barrel was before OPEC? So OPEC was formed. So OPEC is the oil of petroleum exporting countries.
$3 in 1971.
A barrel?
Yeah.
Okay. So a barrel of oil in 1971 was $3 a barrel.
370.
$3.70. And look up what it went up to after OPEC. So we're paying $3 a barrel for oil in 1971. So I'm 11 years old, 10 years old. And this is all a ripple effect from Kennedy's assassination. I promise you, all of it, all of this. So OPEC forms, and I think it was 1971, 1972, I thought, but I might be getting that confused about the Munich 72 when the Palestinians kidnapped and murdered the Israeli Olympic team. So let me just try to get my date straight on when OPEC was formed. And see, just take a look and see if you can see when OPEC was formed and what the price was. So 1971, the price of oil per barrel.
When was it formed?
Yeah, when was it formed, and the price of oil, what it went up to in, like, say, 1974. So I don't want to go search it on my computer. I've got my assistant right here looking it up.
1960, Baghdad, Iraq.
No, that's not OPEC.
OPEC?
Oh yeah, OPEC. So look up when the
It says
the embargo, the OPEC embargo started. So they say that OPEC started in 1960, which is not that may have been when it was formed, but what OPEC did an embargo.
73, 74.
Okay, yeah. So 73, 74. So I'm 12 years old. 73, 74. And what did the price of oil go from?
Price of oil in 74?
Yeah. What's the price of oil in 1974? So it was $3 a barrel. A barrel is 46 gallons of oil, right? You get about 16 gallons of gasoline out of a barrel. $3. It was $3 a barrel.
74 went to 11.65, so it quadrupled.
So in 74 it was 11. So in like 3 years it went to 11.65.
From 3, yeah.
And our country is almost. I mean, we imported a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So think of that. From 1971 to 74, the cost of your energy triples.
Quadrupled.
Quadruples.
Yeah.
What do you think that did to America? And that was after, they had basically cut off our oil too. So I mean, there was a period of time there where you couldn't get gasoline. So you can imagine that effect, and this is all ripple. This is all ripple effect. And then not only that, but here's where the ripple hasn't quite ended with the exorcism of Kennedy. Here's where it's still being impactful, and we still have to make sure that we exorcise all the demons of the Kennedy assassination. So when that happened, imagine the wealth transfer from the United States of America to Islamic countries. So we went from $3 a barrel to almost $12 a barrel, probably $13 a barrel in 3 or 4 years. So now the wealth transfer of dollars going from America to Saudi Arabia, to Iraq, to Kuwait is insane. It's insane. These were poor countries. They weren't able to export their Islamic terror because they didn't have wealth. But now they got money. Now they got lots of money. And what do they slowly do, my friends? What do they slowly do? They slowly start exporting the terror that is Islam. This horrific cult that beats women for not having sex with their husbands, that allows husbands to rape their wives. This horrific cult that throws homosexuals off rooftops. This horrific cult that beheads Christians simply for being Christians. They have got money now. And guess what they're doing? They're slowly feeding our institutions, our educational institutions, they're bribing government officials because they've got all this money. And it's corruptive. And it's corruptive as hell. And that's the wave. That's the ripple. That's all the ripple from the Kennedy assassination. And so we're still affected by it, right? So we still are dealing with the Islamic cult countries having a lot of money. And they're still getting a lot of money. So one of the other big factors of exercising the Kennedy assassination is drill, baby, drill. Because we've got to stop sending the people that hate us, that hate Christians and want to behead us, rape our young daughters, and keep us from talking about how evil what they're doing is and protecting the people that are raping our young daughters like they do in England. The only way to stop them is to have our own energy. It's the only way to do it. Become energy independent. Drill, baby, drill. And then we cut them off. We cut them off. We stop allowing them to destroy our world. And we cut them off. When we cut them off, that money stops flowing into the universities. That money stops flowing into bribe government officials and affect our policy. Right? A major factor in all of this, and I don't want to, heroes go untalked about. We don't recognize them, but I want to talk about the great American hero that figured out, because I want you to go back. This looked like Saudi Arabia was going to rule the world because America was running out of oil. When I was growing up, they had all these studies like, at this rate, America will be out of oil in 10 years, and, we won't have any oil. Do you remember Drive 55? You probably don't. You're probably too young. But in America, they made a law, I think it was under Jimmy Carter, where you could only go 55 miles an hour on the U.S. highways because they were trying to conserve oil. Because we were going to run out of oil. We're going to run out of oil. We were. And you know what? We were going to run out of oil because we use a lot of gasoline, baby. We use a lot of gasoline to power this U.S. economy. We were going to run out of oil. But American ingenuity, graced with the blessings of God, showed us how to extol oil from shale rock. And it's called fracking. So they knew the oil was there because some of the oil would leak up through cracks in the shale, through the rock. The oil would leak up and form a pool. You drill down and you get the shallow. If anybody's watching Landman, it's a great show. But this guy in Wyoming, he founded one of the big natural gas companies. They're out there thinking, like, how can we get this oil out of this ground? And he figured it out. It's called fracking. But so I want you to understand the forces that are at play here. The forces that just we don't celebrate fracking. We don't go out and have a fracking day. But for America, fracking probably had more to do with the future of our country, than anything ever. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And we don't even celebrate it. We don't celebrate the guy that invented fracking. But he's probably one of the greatest American heroes that there is. Because the forces that were in play before fracking were this. Saudi Arabia, Islam wins. Christianity, Americans, dead. That's it. And you say, Joe, come on. That's too much. It's the truth. It's the absolute God's honest truth. Saudi Arabia, we didn't have fracking. We're running out of oil. Are Americans going to stop using oil? No. What are they going to do? They're going to keep using oil. They're going to keep using more oil. So we had two choices. One, militarily take over Saudi Arabia. Was America going to take over Saudi Arabia? No. Was not. Was not going to do it. Could we have taken over Saudi Arabia? In a heartbeat. We could have made it the 51st state. We could basically do whatever the hell we wanted. We won World War II. Who was going to stop us? Nobody. And maybe China would have taken over Iran. But China back then couldn't do jack shit. China had nothing. We could have taken over the whole Middle East. But that's not who we are as America. That's not who we are. But we could have. A different country would have, right? A different country under a different worldview, a non-Christian worldview, absolutely would have taken over Saudi Arabia. We had the power, we had the ability, and we had the need. We would have taken it over. It's that simple. That's simple. We would have all had better lives. Saudi Arabians probably would have had better lives too, because right now in Saudi Arabia, the only people that have great lives are the princes and the emirs and the imams. And everybody else, if you say anything, you get beheaded. That's Saudi Arabia. They lead the world in beheadings. God bless. Saudi Arabia. It's not a free society. They just behead you if they don't like you. If you say anything against the regime, you get beheaded because they're all making billions of dollars. They share it where they want to, but like if you're going to talk shit about them, they're just going to behead you. So what are you going to do in Saudi Arabia? You're going to bend the knee. You're going to bend the knee either to give praise to your imam or your prince, or you're going to bend the knee to get your head sliced off. Take a pick. That's Saudi Arabia. That's a non-Christian country for you. So, but we're transferring. Stay with me. I'm going to try to stay on point here. So we're transferring all this wealth to Saudi Arabia. And now oil's $30 a barrel. It's gone from $3 a barrel in my generation. Today it's at $74 a barrel. Think about the massive inflation that causes in transfer of wealth. So we're sending, let's just say it's $30, $40 a barrel. All that money is going to Saudi Arabia. We're running out of oil. It's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So Saudi Arabia starts pumping all the money back into the U.S. Climate change, save Alaska. So all this money from Saudi that we're giving to Saudi Arabia is telling the USA not to drill for oil. Government agencies, government universities, oil's bad. Government, oil's bad. Don't drill in Alaska. Save our seas. Windmills. Do you get it? Do you see it? So all this money that we're sending to Saudi Arabia that's supplying us oil is now coming back and bribing government officials, university officials, education officials, Al Gore, getting, we're global climate change, oil's bad. You know, horrific movies, Hollywood, they all get all this money from Saudi Arabia, from the Middle East, and it's all about making us dependent on the Middle East for oil. And how do you make us dependent on the Middle East for oil? You make oil in America bad. Massive, massive psyop. Massive psyop. With billions and billions of dollars, government, universities, Hollywood, oil bad. Oil bad in America. Right? That's what happens when you get all the money. You try to get a monopoly. You try to get where there's no competition, where they need even more of you. And so now Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar has all this money to buy soccer teams. They made Real Madrid take the cross off their uniform. Real Madrid had a Christian cross on their uniform team. Qatar made them take the cross off their uniform. Can't have a cross. I don't think any of the teams can have a Christian cross in the English Premier League. Money talks. Money talks. Now look at England now. Look at poor England now. Poor England. What a sad shit place that is. Where the Muslim games rape their daughters and the parents go to jail or the daughters go to jail. It's a sad, sad place. That's what money buys. That's what Islam brings. Okay, so we're in the same boat, guys. We are going right down the crapper with England. Right down the crapper with England because we're sending all our money to Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Qatar. What do you think they want? They want domination. They want power. They don't want it to end. It's a gravy train, man. Imagine if you're an emir. Imagine if you're an emir and you're willing to cut off heads in Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Qatar. I mean, you don't have to work. You're making billions. Your life is golden, right? It's golden. So in America, we're working. Didn't go out and kill a bunch of Muslims to take their oil. Didn't do it. Could have, but didn't. But instead, we're transferring them lots of money, lots of wealth, and all of a sudden, our businesses start going down the drain. Our industries start getting destroyed. So our world starts turning to poverty, starts turning to crap from absolute wealth of the 60s. All Kennedy assassination ripples. The ripples just going down the line, decade after decade, getting worse and worse and worse. Fracking comes along. This guy invents fracking. Hey, Justin, will you look up when fracking was invented? I should, people that are smart have all this stuff at their fingertips, and if I knew where the show was going, I would have all this information. But I have no idea where this show goes, so we're winking it. So we're gonna look up when fracking was. So fracking is like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, when was the turning point in the Civil? Like, what was it? The Battle of Gettysburg that was the turning point in the Civil War.
1862.
1862. So
fracking is hydraulic.
Wait. Did you say 1862 on fracking?
1862 can be traced back to the American Civil War area. The technique was invented.
Okay. So 1862 they invented fracking, but punch in modern fracking. So this is so in 1862 somebody was figured out. I wonder if the guy that invented it in modern
1949.
No, it's later than that.
It says it was in Kansas. Modern era of hydraulic fracking began in 1947 in Kansas.
No.
First commercial use was 1949.
No. Okay, so all right, hold on. Now we're getting into it. No, that's not right. So hold on. So look up the hero, the modern day hero. Here, look this up. Look the modern day hero of fracking. And it's gonna be much later than that. It's gonna be maybe the 80s. The 80s that this guy developed this in North Dakota.
Daniel Ranimi.
Yep, I think that's it. What company is he with?
Yes, fracking.
It's gonna be like an oil. It's gonna be a gas company out of Oklahoma.
Was it in Oklahoma?
Yeah, it was the guy that developed fracking and modern day age fracking was out of Oklahoma. So I'll look it up. I'll take a break. I'll take a break. I'll find it, unless Justin can find it. So fracking, this guy invents fracking. So maybe he didn't invent fracking. Maybe he just modernized it so we could use it in modern day. But he's up in Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, one of the major shale places in western U.S. And boom, he does fracking. And all of a sudden, the oil supply in America booms. We're not going to run out of oil.
Aubrey McClendon.
And what year was that?
What year was he? Well, this says 2014, but
No. I'll look it up. I'll look it up at a break, and I'll come back. Okay. But it was so let me just go through my memory here. So the oil, gas in Alaska. So I'm gonna say it was. I'm gonna say it's modern day, maybe even the 80s, maybe the 80s or the 90s. It was late. It was much after OPEC was developed, and it was deep into when we were. Deep into this battle with OPEC, with the Islamic countries that had the oil. So they're all getting rich. We're getting poor, transferring all this money, gallon of gasoline, and they're importing their terror, their Islamic bullshit into our universities, our government. They're telling us that Islam is good, Islam is peace, American gasoline is bad. They're paying the universities, they're paying the government, they're paying Hollywood, and it's happening, guys. The ripple of the Kennedy assassination is going full born on destroying your country, destroying your freedom. But America is a powerful, wealthy nation, and there are factors and Christian factors that are fighting it the whole time, right? Fighting it. Then they come up with the LGBT, the transsexual thing. They come up with the black-white thing. So it's just bombardment after bombardment after bombardment. Everything to separate, divide, destroy, steal. And then Trump comes along. And it is just like, we're going to put the final nail in the coffin of this. We're going to exorcise the demons that killed and assassinated JFK, and we're going to do it with Donald J. Trump. And we're going to do it in the next 4 years. That's why it's going to be called the Golden Era. We're going to rebirth a nation. This is the rebirth of a nation, because we're going to, all of these things, that this ripple effect from the Kennedy assassination, we're going to change them. And isn't it appropriate? And isn't it beautiful that, and I didn't even get into the whole government and the FDA and where this government has taken us with the drugs. I didn't even get into all the terrible side effects, but it rippled through everything that's bad. Basically, you can take it back to the JFK assassination. Everything that's bad, take it back to when JFK got killed, and you can look at the ripple. You can see the ripple coming from when they killed JFK. And they tried to put a bullet in Donald Trump's head. Same people, same bad plan. Maybe it wasn't Lyndon B. Johnson, but don't think for a heartbeat, that kid that couldn't shoot straight, couldn't make the rifle team, that lived with his parents, somehow managed the resources to go to a rifle range and learn how to shoot with a trainer, and somehow evaded all of the police and Secret Service security, and somehow managed to get up on a flat roof 150 yards from the president. And somehow, even though people screamed, "Shooter with gun," nobody took the president off the stage. Don't think for a minute that was a lone gunman. That was the government killing Trump. Why was the government killing Trump? Because of the ripple effect. Because the ripple effect of evil. They killed JFK. Why wouldn't they kill Trump? JFK was going after the military contractors, was going after the corrupt forces, so they killed him. What do you think Trump's doing? What do you think Trump's doing? Are they done trying to kill him? They tried to kill him twice. I don't think they're done. It's evil. They're evil. The only way you're going to stop them is with good and by punishing evil. It's the only way you're going to stop them. So we're going to punish the evil of the money people by creating our own oil and gas, our own energy, and blowing everybody else out of the water. And we're going to do it because we have fracking. We're going to do it because we're going to open up Alaska. We're going to do it because God has blessed our country with more natural resources than any other country on earth. And Donald J. Trump is our warrior. He is our Saint Stephen. He is the person that's going to make this happen. And we're going to have a golden age, not of gold. We're going to have a golden age, not just of gold, but of life, vitality, wealth. And it's not going to be at the expense of other people. It's not going to be at the cost of other people. Wealth doesn't cost other people. The transfer of wealth does. Like when we transferred our wealth to Saudi Arabia, they didn't do jack shit. We we found the oil, we took the oil out, we carried the oil, and we were paying them a fee. They wanted everything because that's who they are. So they extorted via an embargo. They extorted they extorted like a 400% increase in what we were paying them, a fair price we were paying them. So we won't, like when we're the number one producer of energy, we won't do that to other people. We won't do that to other nations. We won't charge them 4 times for something that they basically, anyway, I hope we don't. But we start, that ripple ends. What I'm trying to say is the Kennedy assassination ripple ends here. We have faced it. We have suffered it. My entire life, my 64, we've suffered the Kennedy assassination. And all these people that have a chip on their shoulder. It was LBJ. It was your party. It was your people that killed JFK. Not Republicans, not conservatives, not Christians. It was your own government and party that killed JFK. So F you. So F you for all the guilt and all the bullshit. Get off your high horse. Join us. Join us in the end and help us end the wave that was the JFK assassination. Join us in the new golden era. Join us. Just join us. Get off your high horse. Get off your holier than thou bullshit. Get off the COVID vaccine crap. Stop the lying. Stop the oh my gosh, the Orwellian bullshit vocabulary. Stop pretending like you don't recognize a lie, like Hunter Biden's laptop. So they lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. Well, okay, what if they lied about Hunter Biden's laptop? They lied about freaking everything. But no, they didn't. No, it's just Biden's not a bad guy. Biden's a terrible guy. Biden's a terrible guy. Kamala Harris is a terrible person. The guy that runs California, Newsom, terrible guy. The mayor of LA, terrible person. Look what they did to the people in North Carolina. They just these are people that are not good people. They need to become good people. They need to change. They need to find God. They need to find Jesus. They need to find out that being a decent human being is a good thing. And I'm going to take a break because I want to end the show on time. But I also want to tell you, I don't want to tell you that we should extol the guy that invented fracking, modern day fracking. We should extol him and then not tell you his name. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to Google search this guy because I know this. I know the story better than I'm telling it. But it was a miracle that we came up with fracking because it changed. It was like the thunderbolt put in the ground to send shockwaves through that you will not own America, Saudi Arabia, Islam. You will not own us because we are blessed by God. And by God, we're going to figure out a way to become energy independent. All right, so let's take a quick break. What should we listen to? Oh, I know what I want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.